All right, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for coming out to my talk. I know some of you might have been out at parties last night, so it's great to see you guys here. It's already 10:20. I'm Samantha. I'm the founder of Yap Global. We're a PR agency that specializes in helping crypto and Web3 companies tell their stories. And today I'm going to be talking to you about new PR rules for Web3. Today, after this talk, you will walk away with 5 key tips on how you can up your PR game and raise more awareness about your project or your team's project. And so I'm excited to get straight into the rules that I'll share today. Before I begin, let me share a little bit more about Yap Global. So our mission is to be the bridge between quality journalism and emerging crypto and Web3 organizations. I used to be a journalist before founding Yap Global 5 years ago, and I'd like to say that Yap Global is a combination of my passion for crypto and storytelling. With the 5 years of growing Yap Global, I've seen so many different protocols and projects that have started and grew and now have large marketing and PR teams, and so it's really rewarding and exciting to see all the projects that we've supported across the few years. And so, yeah, through this I'll be sharing the lessons that we've learned along the way. The vision behind Yap Global is a media landscape shaped by trustworthy and meaningful narratives, which make sense of crypto and Web3 technology. So that's just a little bit about what we want the media landscape in the world to look like with Yap Global. We're a team of crypto translators. I know we're all here at Ethereum Denver, but crypto and Web3 does need some translation, especially to mainstream journalists. If we want more people to onboard onto this industry, we need to be able to communicate what people do. We're also global PR strategists, so we've got a team across the world. I'm headquartered in London, but we've got a team in South Africa. We've got Layla over here from Yap Global, and we've also got a team in the US, in Singapore, and in Malaysia. We're also storytellers. That's a very important part about PR. It's all about the story and how you pitch and angle your story. And there's so many ways to spin a story, so it's a really important skill. And we like to think we're crypto savvy because we spend every day keeping up with what's happening, what's being developed, and also just being at the conference here, just seeing all the tech and all the development happening, even in the midst of a crypto bear market, which is super exciting to see. So let's get straight into it. Rule number 1, know the difference between marketing, PR, and community building. It's actually amazing how many people just mold everything together and think that it's just one big marketing operation. There's actually different purposes and nuances to each part of the marketing function of a team. But today I'm going to be focusing a lot more on the PR side, because PR is, a lot of it is being strategic with your messaging and also earning your coverage. With marketing, there's a lot more that you can control, especially the design, if you're putting a blog post out or a Twitter thread or a social media content, you can control that. But with PR, a lot of it is educating journalists about what you're doing and also positioning the story at the right time and in the right way as well. So I think Richard Branson said this, that a front page story in a newspaper is far more valuable than an ad. So yeah, PR is having to earn your way into a media publication, and it's often more effective in building trust and credibility for your brand. And then in Web3, there's another element. There's the community building side. So if you think about it, Amazon Web Service or Facebook never had to appease a community of token holders when they were building and they grew their organizations. But today, DAOs like ENS, Gitcoin, even Lido, they have token holders that they need to communicate to as well, and that's the extra dimension to Web3 that we need to grapple with and gain skills to make sure that we're communicating to them as well and engaging them when working on a full marketing function of an organization. So I want to go through two examples. So here's an example of a Lido V2 upgrade announcement. So you can see on the left is the marketing materials. Again, as I shared, this is what you can control. This is the design, the graphics. All that is all well and good, but it's the PR that's the most effective way of telling your story, educating people about what your new upgrade entails for them, and also it's a way to raise awareness in the most trustworthy way, because people do read CoinDesk, the blog, the Defiant, for example, to get their information and get their up-to-date news on what's happening. And then there's the community building aspect. So there's, this is can be in the form of community calls as well as events. Another example that we've helped is Gnosis Safe's rebrand. Again, on the left, you see the design, the graphics of the whole rebrand. But then in the middle, it's the PR. So it's making sure that we're finding the right journalists that care about this story, that think it's really important that they share it with their audience, and making sure that they cover, this strategic fundraise as well as a rebrand. And again, it builds trust and credibility for your brand. And then the community building side, which is, your community calls, and this is a dashboard for the community, and that's another way of engaging the community. So that's rule number 1. Rule number 2, keep up with crypto Twitter. So I think crypto Twitter is a dimension to the crypto and Web3 world that's actually very impactful and influential when it comes to PR. A lot of journalists do spot the trends, they find scoops, they find stories just by scrolling through Twitter. And I think it's really important that Twitter, it's still an effective tool in finding out what's the top story of the day, even of the hour, because maybe there's a story that's been tipped off or a rumor that's been tipped off, and that's where journalists really start to investigate what's going on. But Twitter is also a really good tool to engage your community. So I like to share this example of ENS's endowment voting period. So we work with ENS Labs, and so it was really fascinating to watch this unfold on crypto Twitter and see it impact PR coverage about this vote. So I started with an announcement. Often, because people who are a part of these DAOs, sometimes they're voting for so many different proposals. It's often hard to get everyone's attention. So Twitter has become kind of a tool. And I like to say also in the, more the DeFi trading world, crypto Twitter is kind of like a live Bloomberg chat room that is public for everyone to see. So what's on there is quite influential. So let me explain why. So here's a vote that started. Nick Johnson, the founder of ENS, tweeted about this. There was a Twitter Spaces explaining, the details of this vote, and that got everyone's attention. Even myself, I didn't really know that the vote was going on until I saw this tweet. And then there's also engagement for more input. So here's an example of a tweet from Griff Green, who was saying, hey, look, $50 million of treasury is at stake here. Let's get on Twitter Spaces and chat more about what's the best vote and who's the best asset manager to manage ENS's treasury. And then finally, when the vote finished, updates were shared on Twitter, and then it was covered by CoinDesk, and it was a great overview. So here's an example of how crypto Twitter can influence your story. Rule number 3, understand the media landscape. So not all media are the same, and sometimes you have to think about why you want to get coverage in a certain media publication. Sometimes we get ambitious clients that want to get on, Financial Times, or they want to get on Wall Street Journal. But we always tell them it's important to be careful what you wish for. Right now, it's probably not a good idea to want to get on the Wall Street Journal. You don't want to be investigated. I mean, regulation is a hot, crypto regulation is a hot topic and a trend right now, and you do not want to be in the eyes of regulators if perhaps you want to just play it safe. And so you have to understand and know why you want to be in a certain media publication. The added element to Web3 is obviously the crypto section, and also the conferences, which is, for example, here we're at Ethereum Denver. There's panel discussions, there's forums where there's topics and discussions being had, and so this is also a great forum and more niche towards the Web3 and crypto industry. So. Yeah, that's something to note. And also when thinking about communicating to these different media publications, they also operate differently, and they're also interested in different types of stories. For example, in the tech press, let's take TechCrunch. TechCrunch is mainly interested if there's a fundraise and there's a large figure or there's key investors, but perhaps they're not going to get into the nitty-gritty details of ZK Tech yet. So it's just something to know the nuances of what each media publication focuses on. And then to add another layer to that, and what we do is we engage with the journalists. It's just knowing within each crypto within each publication, whether it's crypto or business or mainstream, there are also different beats. And so it gets even more niche in crypto because, there could be a protocol beat, there could be, zero knowledge or regulation, and it's important to know which journalist that you want to pitch to. Rule number 4 is know your audience and tailor your message to them. So there are multiple different stakeholders that crypto and Web3 founders need to communicate to. Number 1, their token holders or their community. Number 2, their investors, and perhaps also their partners, especially if they're working with other protocols, other businesses. And so you have to understand what message you have to pinpoint what message you want to send, what your business objectives are, and then tailor your message around that. Again, just a continuation of knowing the media landscape and understanding different media organizations. I thought I'd pull out an example of how Gitcoin has been communicated across 3 different type of media publications. So, top one is a New York Times piece that covered what's happening in crypto at the moment. They describe Gitcoin as a platform that promises on its website to build and fund open web together. Wired explains Bitcoin as a platform for funding open source Web3 projects that have raised and distributed roughly 60 million so far. And CoinDesk explains Gitcoin as a crowdfunding platform for open source software. So you can see there's distinct nuances with how New York Times, Wired, and CoinDesk communicates Gitcoin. I think Wired does the best out of all this because they really do dig deep into the tech and try to understand what they're writing about. But it just also shows you that depending on the journalist you're speaking to and the media publication, they're going to have a different way of interpreting what you do. And so it's important that you know your message and you're able to translate what you're developing for them. So again, know your audience and tailor your message to them. And final rule is avoid the technical jargon. So that's a continuation of that last rule. So I like this example of, I heard that the Reddit collectible avatars are doing really well. And actually, the avatars are technically NFTs, but when Reddit announced this new initiative and this drop, they actually didn't even use the word NFTs to explain it. And actually, that was the most effective in communicating what it actually is for the community. So again, I think we're here. We've just come off the back of a big week of building. I think we're all having conversations with one another about tech and what we're building, and it's very easy to get bogged down in the tech and in what we want to build. But for PR, for journalists, they don't need to know all the details. And so it's important to make sure that you're leaving out some of the jargon. Maybe it might do a better job at communicating to a wider audience what you're trying to do. And so, those are the 5 rules. Rule number 1, know the difference between marketing and PR and community building. Rule number 2, keep up with crypto Twitter. Rule number 3, understand the media landscape. Rule number 4, know your audience and tailor your message to them. And rule number 5, avoid technical jargon. I hope that this is helpful to you. Feel free to take a picture, and hopefully you can up your PR game after this. And just another slide to show what success looks like. I picked out some of the stories that we've worked on as a team. These are pieces from ETH Denver last year, and the Time magazine front cover story of Vitalik was super encouraging for our whole industry. And this is what success looks like. And hopefully this can be, these pieces of coverage could feature your project and you as well. So thank you so much. Here's just an overview of some of the partners we work with. I host a podcast called Yapcast, and we're doing a series on the story of money. And so feel free to scan and subscribe. And every week, my team put out a newsletter that covers the 3 top stories of crypto in that week. And it's very important to know what's top of mind for journalists, so you can leverage and capitalize on it when you're pushing out your announcements or your products. And so hopefully the context will help you keep up. And then feel free to follow me on Twitter and my team as well. Thank you.